Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Spark podcast. My name is Jack, I'll be your host, and today we're going to talk about Déjà Vu. Before we get started, I'd just like to apologise for missing last week's, deadline that I set myself on Saturday. I was at a training course for work and did not get time at all to put in the effort that's I don't think it's required, but I think I should hold myself to. I would say it's not going to happen again, but it probably will. I'm probably going to miss weeks every now and again. But this week, we've got something that it's a bit lighthearted, because there's no real facts around this. There's a lot of speculation, a few experiments that we don't really know, that we can draw certain conclusions from, but not a lot. And it's just something that happens to a lot of people. It's déjà vu. So what is déjà vu? It's French. If you've ever done French, you know that if you've ever studied French or you speak French, you'll know that it means already seen in English. It is an overwhelming sense of familiarity with something that shouldn't be familiar at all. So, for example, if you were sitting around with your friends talking about the football or the rugby or whatever, and you suddenly get an overwhelming feeling that we've been sitting in this place before, having the exact same conversation with the exact same people, that's déjà vu. Or, for example, there's another one, another different type of déjà vu, where you may go to a place you've never been before and feel like you've been there. Déjà vu is a weird thing. It's also very complex, and there are many theories for why it happens. There's a Swiss scholar with one of the best names I've ever heard. His name is Arthur Funkhausen. He suggests that there are different types of déjà vu experiences, or déjà experiences, sorry. It's difficult to not say déjà vu when I've been saying déjà vu a lot. He has coined the terms déjà visité for already visited. That would be like the one if you go to a foreign country and you feel like you've been there before. And he also has déjà vécu, which means you've already experienced or lived through. That's like the one where you're sitting down talking to your mates about the football or whatever. I imagine there's loads more, but my French is non-existent, and I apologize for butchering déjà visité or déjà vécu. If I have, I don't know if I have or not. That's the problem, is I don't know if I'm fucking up. Apparently, only 70% of people have experienced déjà vu. It's strange. I always thought it was something that everyone kind of dealt with on a communal level. Not a communal level, but it's something that all humans experienced. There's a higher number of incidents between the ages of 15 and 25, which makes sense, because the brain is developing. You're undergoing puberty at a phenomenal rate, and the brain kind of fucks up a bit. Déjà vu is actually firmly associated with temporal lobe epilepsy. Reportedly, it can occur. Déjà vu can occur just prior to a temporal lobe seizure. It can actually be experienced during the seizure itself, or even in the kind of moments between the convulsions. The person having the seizure can experience déjà vu in both of those scenarios, which is kind of strange in a way. It's something I'd like to look into a bit more, the link between epilepsy and déjà vu. Maybe that's another podcast. So I went and tried to find other theories for what déjà vu is. Bustle.com presents 4 theories. One is that the event has actually already happened, and for some reason you forgot and are being reminded. So that theory kind of suggests that deja vu isn't a thing. You're just remembering shit because you completely forgot that it has actually happened before. The second one that they talk about is a processing error in the brain, where two elements are trying to operate at the same time, but something kind of gets out of step. So you feel weird about it. There's also the disruption theory, which is kind of when the neural firings in the brain are somehow interrupted or go awry. So the neural pathways that I was talking about in episode 1 of the podcast. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen. But basically, the neurons in your brain somehow stop and kind of jump around the place, if you can imagine that. So that's kind of the link to epilepsy that people believe anyway. The fourth explanation is the attentional explanation. I think my mouth just cut off there. You get distracted. This is the one I kind of most believe, is that you're in a situation and you feel like you are paying attention. You are, in a way, but something else is going on in your brain and you get distracted for like a split second. And it's just kind of, you just wander off for just like a fucking, not even a full second, maybe a couple of seconds. And when you come back to reality, you refocus and your brain catches up with the situation. And you experience that in, well, they say that it feels past. It feels like the past in a oddly familiar way. But I think it's more of a internal time traveling thing. And that sounds insane, but let me explain. I'm also rhyming. Basically, what I believe that is the attentional explanation is you got distracted and you came back and you're experiencing what's happening in the present, but what happened, it actually happened a couple of seconds ago. So you kind of time travel in your mind back and you experience that. And when you get to the point where you're back in the present again, it just feels weird. You're like, oh, Deja Vu. I don't know if I've explained that well or probably pretty poorly, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you don't. If you've experienced Deja Vu, I hope you have. 70% of people have. It's a weird feeling. It's not a bad feeling by any means. It's just something that you don't know would ever happen. You never knew would happen. There was a few experiments done on Deja Vu. One of the most interesting ones that I found, one of the ones that I see you could actually get results out of, was one done by the University of St Andrews in 2016. It was an experiment where they actually managed to induce deja vu in non-epileptic people. So they actually caused deja vu. Which sounds like fucking hocus pocus to me until they explain it, and you kind of go like, oh yeah, that would work. What they did was they set up a word experiment. They gave the subjects, the people they were doing the experiment on, a collection of words related to something without mentioning the key word that they were all related to. They then asked the subjects if they had heard that keyword recently. And for a lot of them who were asked this, it actually induced deja vu in their brain. While they were experiencing deja vu, they were examining the brain. They don't say how, but I imagine there's some sort of like MRI going on here, and they're actually seeing the neurons firing in the brain at the time. They found that there was little activity in the hippocampus, and that's kind of where memories are stored. And there's other areas as well that are associated with memory, but they found that there was very little activity in these areas, and there was a lot of activity in the front part of the brain. It's the frontal lobe. I'm not a brain expert, but I believe that's all like motor functions and like basically staying alive stuff. So like the basics, rather than deeper thinking. I think. I could be wrong. I should have looked that up before I just started talking about it. But anyway, They say that the activity in the front of the brain may mean that our frontal lobes are like checking our memory input and raising an alarm or an odd feeling when something doesn't quite fit with our memories. It's kind of weird. It's of course it's weird. It's deja vu. It's something we can't measure or identify. It's just something that kind of happens to people. But they did admit in the so like that's sorry, I'm going to start again. They got some results which are very interesting, and that may be what deja vu is, but they do admit that there are different types of deja vu. Word deja vu, which was the kind of one they're working on, may be different from visual deja vu, or the ones that Arthur Funkhausen coined. Deja visite and deja vécu. I'm fucking up those French words, I know I am. So we don't know really. There was also a study done in 2006. I'm not sure by who, but it was mentioned in the article with the University of St Andrews experiment in 2016. In 2006, someone showed that it may also be memory retrieval issue. It's where the brain is fooled into classifying new information among memories. So the way I kind of imagine that is when you learn new information, it all goes into a temporary folder. For example, metaphorically, a folder in your head, basically. And that temporary folder is like something you can access throughout the day. And when you go to sleep, that temporary folder is like dragged over to the memories folder and it's put in the memories folder with all the other memories from your entire life. And then you open up a new temporary folder, and the experience you learn that day after you've woken up and finished your sleep go into the temporary folder, and it happens again every day. So what they believe is that the memories, or sorry, the new information that you learn may skip this temporary folder. I'm still using the metaphors here. May skip that temporary folder and go straight into the memories folder. If you follow my meaning, that means that you're experiencing new information, but you're drawing on your experience in your head from your memories rather than from what's happening right now, from what you know is happening right now. Some part of your brain knows that this is a memory, but is wrong. It's kind of weird. It's always something that I've kind of wanted to talk about with people. I think I'm going to bring it up more and try to get people to talk about it, because it's very interesting. And I was amazed that it doesn't happen to everyone. It's only 70%. Some articles claim that it's 60%. I'm going to go with the high one because I feel like it's the high one, because everyone talks about it. There's songs about deja vu. There's movies about deja vu. You know, everyone knows what it is. There are also some ridiculous theories as to why deja vu happens. There is the tuning fork phenomenon, which is, I don't know if it was coined by X-Files, but it was made famous in X-Files where they talked about it, so you know where this is going. The tuning fork phenomenon is when the frequencies of your mind somehow match up with the frequencies of some mind or other being in the afterlife. So you like meld with someone who is in the afterlife. I don't really think that's what happens. I could be wrong. Nobody fucking knows, man. Maybe nobody knows what fucking consciousness is. Maybe we're all one consciousness, and when we die, we're just in the same consciousness, and we never know. It's kind of fucked up when you think about it, that nobody knows what's going on inside our heads. There's no explanation for why we think. There's explanations for how we think, but no explanations for why. It's strange. My favorite theory, I think, is one that I came up with, and I don't know if it's a thing, but I call it the no death theory. No death theory. It's Okay, go with me on this one. Okay. Because we're conscious beings, we don't like the idea of not being conscious. I don't believe, but I could see it being a thing where the brain just cannot accept dying. So, what it does is when you die, it resets back to a point in your life and just creates a whole new existence from that point on. And that's what that's what Deja Vu could be. So that's why you feel like, I've done this before, and then something subtle changes and the whole universe is different. But that's nonsense. That's utter shite. That's just something I thought about in work one day after I felt Deja Vu. And I've also played a lot of video games, so the whole idea of respawning is kind of interesting and intriguing. But that's Deja Vu. As I said, it's something that I was amazed at. Not everyone experiences, or I suppose can remember experiencing. Although I still don't believe that so much. It's like maybe some people don't know what the term deja vu is, and they've felt it before, but they don't know what it's called. Because all these stats come from people who are filling out fucking questionnaires. And who goes up to the questionnaires guy? You see someone in the city with a fucking clipboard, and you walk to the other side of the road and keep walking past them. It's like, ignore that motherfucker. But I don't know. It's nonsense. There's no way to explain this. I don't know. I don't know why I made a podcast about this. I do. It's because it's interesting and I like it. But there's no conclusion I can draw. There's only the crazy explanations I can come up with in my head that don't exist. And there's no reason for why it happens. But I want to thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Okay, this week was a bit short, but I think I kind of got my point across. I even got to explain some of my crazy fucking theories about what deja vu is. But yeah, I want to thank you for listening. I've been listening to the Joe Rogan podcast recently. It's kind of the one thing that got me into podcasts in general, because Joe Rogan's the fucking man. He just is, and he has really interesting people in, and it's a show that I've learned a lot from. I don't know how much of it is retained in my head, but it's worth a listen. If you've never listened to Joe Rogan and you're listening to me, I don't know how. I don't know how you missed it. It's the biggest fucking podcast ever. So just go listen to Joe Rogan. He's fantastic. A few friends of mine have started up a podcast called 3BTS. It's worth a listen to. I don't know. I'm heavily biased. They're talking about basically us and the lads. So I may be very heavily biased, but I enjoy it. It was good. It's funny. So give it a listen if you haven't listened to it yet. If you want to experience deja vu, listen to a few of my podcasts and then light a match. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.